The cell phone technology would be useful to give an overview of the cell phone technology here, as this is quite in line with our installation. Let's see how a cell phone works. What makes it different from a regular phone? What do all those confusing terms like PCS, GSM, and TDMA mean? Let's start with the basics. In essence, a cell phone is a radio. One of the most interesting things about a cell phone is that it is actually a radio, an extremely sophisticated radio, but a radio nonetheless.
The telephone was invented by Alexander Graham in 1876. And wireless communication traces roots to the invention of the radio by Nikola Tesla in the 1880s, formally presented in 1894 by young Antonio Marconi. It was only natural that these two great technologies would eventually be combined, in the dark ages before cell phones. People who really needed mobile communications ability installed radio telephones in their cars. In the radio telephone system, there was one central antenna per city, and perhaps 25 channels available on that tower. This central antenna meant that the phone in your car needed a powerful transmitter, big enough to transmit 40 or 50 miles, about 70 kilometers. It also meant that not many people could use radio telephones, there just were not enough channels. Genius of the cellular system is the division of a city into small cells. This allows extensive frequency reuse across the city, so that millions of people can use cell phones simultaneously. In a typical analog cell phone system in the United States, the cell phone carrier receives about 800 frequencies used across the city. The carrier chops up the city into cells. Each cell is typically sized at about 10 square miles, 26 square meters. Cells are normally thought of as hexagons on a big hexagonal grid like this because phone base stations use low-power transmitters. The same frequencies can be reused in adjacent cells. The two purple cells can reuse the same frequencies. Each cell has a base station that consists of a tower and a small building containing radio equipment. More on base stations later. A single cell in an analog system uses 1/7 of the available voice channels. That is, each cell of the 7 on a hexagonal grid is using 1/7 of the available channels, so it has a set of frequencies and there are no collisions. A cell phone carrier typically gets 832 radio frequencies to use in a city. Each cell phone uses 2 frequencies per call, a duplex channel, so there are typically 395 voice channels per carrier. The other 42 frequencies are used for control channels, more on the next page. Therefore, each cell has about 56 voice channels available. In other words, in any cell, 56 people can be talking on their cell phone at one time. With digital transmission methods, the number of available channels increases. For example, a TDMA-based digital system can carry 3 times as many calls as an analog system. Each cell has about 168 channels available. Take a lot more information on TDMA, CDMA, GSM and other digital cell phone techniques. Phones have low-power transmitters in them. Many cell phones have 2 signal strength 0.3 watt comparison. Most CB radios transmit at 4 watts. The base station is transmitting at low power. Low power transmitters have 2 advantages: the transmissions of a base station and the phone itself outside that cell.
Therefore, in the figure above, both of the purples use same 50 frequencies. Same frequencies can be reused extensively across the city. The power consumption of cell phone, which is not battery operated, is relatively low. Low means small batteries, and this is what has made handheld cellular phones possible. The cellular approach requires a larger of base station city of any size. A typical large city can have hundreds of towers, but because so many people are using phones, costs remain low per user. Each carrier in each city also runs one small office called the Mobile Telephone Switching Office (MTO). The office handles all of the phone connections to the normal landline system. It controls all of the base stations in the region. It now sees what happens with you and your phone move from cell